Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I'm going to tell you a secret. Now, some people know this secret about me, but I'm going to tell you a secret if you don't know this about me. I'm an introvert. I really am. I really am an introvert. I know that sounds crazy. I'm this networking guy. I'm supposed to be Mr. Networking. And you know what? Yeah, I am. That's what I do. I connect people. I get out and I work with people. My wife and my kids laugh because I can, I've never met a stranger. I'm striking up conversations with people. But, at the end of the day, I like to go home and just turn on the TV and just kind of be by myself, go to the movies by myself, do things by myself, go for a walk by myself. I have friends who they always need somebody within 6 feet of them. They probably went crazy through the pandemic because they always need somebody around. I don't need people around. My wife goes out of town. She might leave me with the dog. Hey, that's plenty. I will go the whole weekend. I might be alone, but I'm never lonely. And so I kind of look at myself as an introvert, I guess maybe an omnivert, but I don't need to have people around me. So today I have as a guest, this is a great lead into the guest. I have got Giovanna Allen, and she's the author and a certified business consultant, as well as a networking coach. And she's the creator and chief visionary officer of Twisted Networking. And we'll get into this, but it's an internationally known business networking organization whose mission is to facilitate welcoming, engaging, introverted, friendly networking events. In 2021, she self-published her first book, The Introvert's Guide to Becoming a Master Networker, which you can find on Amazon. And she just loves to discuss entrepreneurship, personal development, business marketing, and networking. She's in the right place. She has 3 adopted sons, and she currently lives in Giovanna, somewhere in Mexico. I'll let you finish that out. I got your name down.
You did great, Frank.
Playa del Carmen, is that right?
Playa del Carmen, basically Carmen Beach. Playa del Carmen.
Yeah. Now, Giovanna is originally from Rhode Island. And just stumbled on Mexico and loves it, and that's why she's there. Anyhow, welcome to the program. Let's can you start off by kind of giving us your story, how you came to write a book about introverts?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Frank, for having me. Oh, I am just so excited to be here. And as you mentioned, I was raised in Providence, Rhode Island. I was actually born in Philadelphia. During the pandemic, my parents moved to North Carolina, Robertsonville, North Carolina, little town. I'm still trying to figure out where it is, to retire. And I decided to move with them to support them. And then I came here to Playa del Carmen on vacation in December of 2021. Absolutely loved it, moved in April. So 4 months later, I packed up and came here. Just to go back a little bit, in 2009, I started my first business in network marketing. And I absolutely loved it. But anybody who knows about network marketing, once you go through your friends, your family, your close network, then you have to figure out where else to get clients from. And so then I was introduced to the business networking scene. My first networking event was a disaster. I almost had a panic attack. I write about it in the book. It was very, very difficult for me. However, I understood what was going on and I just absolutely loved it. And so I decided to start my own networking events in 2017. Along my journey, I figured out that I was an introvert and I started to accept that a little bit more. During the pandemic, my business coach said, "Hey, Giovanna, you should write a book." And I'm like, me write a book? I don't write books. I buy books, I read books, I don't write books. But once he planted that seed, I sat back and I thought about it. And within 2 weeks, I had the title, The Introvert's Guide to Becoming a Master Networker. Within 2 months, the manuscript was written. And within the year, I had self-published my book.
I have a theory, and we can kick this around, and I've shared this before. I have a theory that really introverts are better networkers than extroverts. And the reason I say that is and again, it's highly, totally unscientific, totally prejudicial based on who I am. But, I see extroverts and they're kind of outgoing and they're talking and always got to have people around and kind of need to be the center of attention. And you can't do that and listen.
You can't.
Go ahead.
I totally agree. I put in the book that I think introverts, we are naturally designed to be better networkers because we listen, because we do better in one-on-one settings, because we are in tune to ourselves, then we're better able to be in tune to other people. Whereas if you're the one always talking, there's no time to genuinely connect with other people. And so I agree with you.
Yeah. And again, totally unscientific, but the extroverts I know are always trying to drive the agenda. Hey, we're going here for dinner. We're doing this. This is the best. And it's just, and as a quiet introvert, it's like, I just kind of feel like I'm being pulled along. It's like, I don't want to go along, right? I just want to stay home,
And today I consider myself an ambivert because
Sure.
I can live in both worlds, but by nature, I will always be an introvert. I can go on vacation. I came to Mexico by myself. I went to Jamaica by myself. I travel I can go to a restaurant, a bar, a movie, anywhere, and I'm okay with being alone. But that also makes me better when I'm in a setting with someone else because I can share the conversation and I can give them the attention that they need. It's not just about Giovanni all the time.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. My daughter lives in Louisville, 3 hours away, and I'll go visit her. And I've toyed with taking the Greyhound, and people kind of totally turn their nose up at that. And it's like, it's inexpensive. I don't have to worry about driving, parking, and all that stuff. I don't need a car when I'm there. But I know you're on the bus with other people. It's not like I've got an Uber driver and it's just me and an Uber driver. That would be horrible because they'd want to make conversation. But you're kind of in this environment where you're just kind of sitting there and just totally relaxed. And I don't need people to, it's just
really draining.
It is.
I have to schedule my people time.
Yeah. Well, I was reading an article. It was talking about it was a study and was talking about kind of the exhaustion of thinking. When you're given hard math problems or hard things to think through. It is actually draining. It actually, a chemical builds up in your brain and you need to kind of just pull back and recharge from it to let the system clear it out. I'm not a scientist. There's a name to it, the chemical and whatnot. But at any rate, and obviously they were talking about, mathematical problems, but I think conversing with people is hard work. Because you and I are talking, I'm reading your face. We're, people are just listening to this. We can see each other over Zoom, but you and I can see each other. And so I'm thinking about the words I'm saying. I'm thinking about how you're taking in the words. What's my next question? What's this? When you're at a networking event, it's not just a one-on-one conversation. There's all the people surfing around. Obviously I'm trying to focus on you, but being human, you can't help but pick up all the other things and kind of, hey, there's a threat or there's not a threat or whatever it might be. It's exhausting.
It is. And that's why I believe a lot of introverts shy away from it because it is a lot of work for us. We expend a lot of energy just being in the room, just being around someone, especially someone who is overbearing, which a lot of people who are in sales and marketing are. And so for us, it's like, I might as well not even bother going to that event because I know it's going to be too much. But you have to prepare yourself for the too much.
Now, you said that the first event you went to was a disaster. Can you kind of describe what disaster means?
So for me, and I write about it in the book, when I arrived, I just was like, it felt like a panic attack. I started sweating. My breathing was just erratic. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. I need to leave. And I actually had to go outside and I said a silent prayer. And I just had to do this whole self-talk spiel so that I could go back inside. But when I went back inside, I just darted to the bathroom and I'm like, oh my goodness, now I'm stuck in the bathroom. because I need to go out here and face these people. And I, talked myself out of that. But then when I came outside, it was like, I just stood around the food station, just like eating the food, just watching people. And for me, it felt like it was a waste of my time. However, in hindsight, I needed to go through that so that I could do more. And a lot of people are afraid to even put themselves in that situation. It was so outside of my comfort zone, but it was necessary to get to the next step.
Yeah. I've never had a panic attack like that. But I've shared this quite a bit on the podcast. I have this pull, this voice in my head when I'm going to events saying, don't go. Kind of talk me out of it, right? You too?
Every time, even to my own events.
Yes. Isn't that bad? I once didn't go to a golf outing I put on. I'm too busy. Everything's set up. I wasn't golfing anyways. You don't need me. It's all set. Everyone's paid their money. Here's a check and I didn't go. I know that's horrible. But
it's normal. It's normal for us because it's something outside of our comfort zone. It's something outside of our natural inclination. But in order to be successful or to do the things that you have to do, you have to get past that thought in your head, because it's really just in your head.
All right. So I'll put a hypothetical to you, and you go into the bathroom at an event, and there's a young Giovanna in there, and you can just see it, right? And when you go to networking events, you can kind of see the people who are not totally panicked, but they're just out of place. They don't know what the next.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I talk to her, and I take her along with me, and I introduce her to other people, and I bond with her, and I make a friend with her, which I wish someone would have done that to me in the beginning, but they did. I learned the hard way, but I would take her and, share my little experiences with her and introduce her to the people and show her how to actually network.
I would imagine you have a lot of great stories of working with people such as that, your organization. Do you have successes where people have kind of come out at the other end? And I don't want to say have become extroverted, but become more like you?
I have a lot of people who have never attended networking events before, but because of me, they've started attending networking events, and their businesses have grown, their confidence has grown, they're doing things that they never have imagined doing before, just because they started attending networking events that I hosted. So I've seen that. Even with my book recently, I got a review from a gentleman who said he thought being an introvert was some sort of disability. He always thought something was wrong with him.
Yeah.
Until he read the book, and he's like, well, now I'm confident. I understand, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. And so that's my mission, to help introverts understand there's nothing wrong with you. You just perceive the world differently, but it's valuable. And also come out to these networking events. That's where you're going to find what you need.
Right.
You're going to find the people who are like-minded. You're going to find the people who have the resources or want to share information with you. And also, because we're introverted, we spend a lot of time reading. I'm checking out all those beautiful books you have back there.
Yeah.
We read a lot, we study a lot, and we have a lot inside. We just need to get out and share it a little bit more with other people.
Yeah. Well, and I would encourage people who are extroverts to pick up your book.
Yes.
Just to, it's kind of like the book out there, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, kind of a thing, just to understand the other side.
Exactly.
A few years ago, I was talking to my sister, and she just kind of remarked, we were going somewhere, we were, not kind of I don't want to call it a family vacation, but we were going to end up in the same town or whatever, staying at the same hotel. And she just said, I recognize that you just need alone time. I just recognize now that you just need alone time. And my sister's she's outgoing. She's an extrovert. And it was nice to know that, hey, you get it, right? I'm up early. I'm going for a walk. Why don't you wait for people? Because I want to walk by myself. And I'm not being selfish. It's not like only one person can ever walk on this sidewalk, right? Or this path. Anybody can. I just want to do it on my own, and put some headphones. Yeah.
This is what I need.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, in a world full of extroverts, it's really all about what they need all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like, what about me?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and again, it gets back to the whole notion that there is power in kind of the introverted mindset of being able just to kind of throttle down and let it be about somebody else and
Yes.
let them talk. Because when you're talking, you're not listening. And anymore I get on a call with somebody, when I run into somebody like that, I just let them talk.
That's
I just
it.
let them talk. Especially if I try to say something and I get interrupted. It's like, I'm not, I don't get offended. Partially, I don't get offended because I tend to have longer pauses and people, I thought you were done. No, I was thinking of the good word to say, right?
Mhm.
I just don't spew things out. I'm trying to be intentional about what I'm saying. But when that happens, it's like, I don't even fight it. I don't even fight it and just let them go.
Just let them go. I recently received a review as well from the book from an extrovert, and he read it so that he could understand his introverted clients.
Mm.
And I let people know that in your organizations, in your company, there are extroverts on your team.
Yeah.
And it's best for you to understand how we think and how we feel. And then you can better use us to your advantage, because we are great teammates, excellent teammates.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand it, you might just say, oh, she doesn't engage in the meeting. It's not that she doesn't engage in the meeting. She processes things differently.
Well, and you get a different perspective. You're in a meeting. It's good to call on people who might not speak up.
Exactly.
Because they're going to have a sense on things. What's the saying? Calm waters run deep, or something like that. And it's and that's you when you have those conversations, they're generally saying something insightful, and gives you something to think about. For our listeners, again, it's Giovanna Allen, and she's the author of The Introvert's Guide to Becoming a Master Network. I just want to throw that title out again. I know we said it in the beginning, and we're talking about this book, but if you missed it, there it is. And I will certainly put it in the show notes as well. Okay, Giovanna, I want to switch gears. I want you to tell me all about Twisted Networking, things you're doing, what you've got going on, how people can get a hold of you, who benefits from it, where they can go to get more information, stuff like that.
Fantastic. So Twisted Networking, I started Twisted Networking in 2017, and I started it basically because I was attending other networking events and they just didn't feel comfortable for me, or they didn't fit my lifestyle. I had 3 young children and I needed something that wasn't at 7 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't get them to school and do the networking event. And so Twisted Networking, it's basically for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people who are thinking about starting a company. It's just a safe space where you can come, you can share your ideas, you can engage in our interactive relationship building activities. One of the things that I love most about Twisted Networking is that we get to know you as a person before we talk business. And so on a virtual event or even in-person event, you have the opportunity to do a one-on-one interview with somebody else. And it's a curated question that I have come up with. And it could be something like, hey, Frank, what's the best book that you've ever read? Or, Frank, who are you trying to help in your personal life? It could be a question like that. And then you would share what the other person shared with you. So I'm also teaching people how to speak about other people rather than talk about themselves all the time. Then you have your opportunity to do your powerful marketing script, is what I call it, which can be your 60-second. You typically get a minute and a half at a Twisted Networking event to share with the group what you do, how you help, how you serve. We have a featured speaker, and I like to do that in an interview format. So it's not like people are just sitting there getting talked at for an hour. I ask some really insightful questions. How did you get started? Why do you do what you do? What are some of your challenges? So that the group gets to know the other person. And then at the end of an event, we get to wrap up. So you typically get to speak about 4 times at a Twisted Networking event, where I know as a lot of events, you probably get maybe 1 or 2 times to talk. I make sure that it's very, very interactive and engaging. So you can learn about Twisted Networking at twistednetworking.com. You can also go to Javonya.com, and under the tab for networking events, that will take you to the Twisted Networking page as well. I am currently only hosting 1 event per month, and it is a virtual event. I am based here in Mexico. I am considering opening up in-person events in 2023 again, because we did have them, but right now it's strictly virtual and you get to see me.
Is it at a fixed time during the month, or?
It's typically the second or the third Tuesday of the month, and it's on Eastern Standard Time, because that's where my network was built, in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Sure.
So typically from 12 to 1:15 on a Tuesday afternoon. It's a lunchtime meeting. So for people who are working, they can grab their lunch and hop on. When we're in person, we support a local restaurant. So it's definitely something to give back to the community as well.
Just a quick question. What's the mix of men to women?
More women than men, always.
Okay.
Some events, it's all women. And I have a couple of men that show up, but for the most part, the majority, 90% of the event is women.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's any pattern to that. I think the world's population of introverts is half men and half women. I think just men are wired differently. We don't ask for directions, right? So when we kind of need help, I'm an introvert, I'm not going to go to this. It's akin to asking for directions. So,
as you mentioned earlier, they're introvert friendly. So they're not only for introverts.
Right.
But they're for the introverts who need someone to walk them through the door. We make sure that there's no ambiguity. You know exactly what's going to happen from start to finish. You know what to expect. I prepare you. So it's not like you're a fish out of water when you get there. And you'll always have that friendly person, because I train my facilitators and myself to be engaged with every person from the time they walk through the door. I've been to events where no one ever spoke to me, and I just don't think that that's right. And so I make sure that you're never alone at a Twisted Networking event.
This is great. All right, everybody. Javonya Allen. Keep saying her name because I've worked hard before we hit record to try and get it right. But she is the creator and chief visionary officer of Twisted Networking, a networking organization. And I'll put Javonya.com in the show notes for those who are driving, so you can go back and you can get it from her. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Frank. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.